For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. And Cayman Pharmacy Group, with locations in West Base and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Friday, the 25th day of January 2019. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable evening and that you're all raring to go today. Those of you who are already on the road, I want to remind you to observe the rules of the road, be courteous, be cautious, and at the same time remember that the life you save may be your own by observing the proper rules of the road. Also, for those of you who will be on the road during the weekend, especially on Monday, you would want to take note of the various road closings that will take place as a result of our Heroes Day celebration as well. So you want to take note of that also. So I want to thank you, our listening and viewing audience, for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. For the Record is a show produced by the staff and the management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I'm your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. Normally, that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on our toll-free number, provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on a telephone, email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at CANDW.KY. WhatsApp us at 925-3261. There you can leave us a text message or send us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. For those of you who have lost loved ones during the course of the week or even before, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you also, and in particular we want to again extend our condolences to our staff member here, one of our staff members, DJ Lynn, and to tell him that our prayers and our support remain behind him and his family as well. For those of you who have a birthday today, I also want to wish you a very, very happy birthday. No names that come to mind at this point in time, but you know who you are. And later on, if you want to give Miss Susan a buzz, and I'm sure that she will mention if you have a birthday and you want it mentioned, or you may know someone who's celebrating a birthday today, and we can mention it on here as well for you. One person I know who is not celebrating a birthday today, but I'm celebrating because we have him back in the studio. This is the first time for 2019 that he's back in the studio, I believe. None other than MLA, Mr. V.Arden McLean, who represents the District of East End in our legislature. Mr. McLean, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record, sir.
Good morning, O.C. It's been a while. I guess it's, that's the nature of these things.
Oh, yes. And sometimes you need a break, too,
Yeah, but I just want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. And the challenges are coming left, right, and center, but then there's much to be thankful for, too.
Yes.
I have watched with interest some of the new developments around the country, and I hope that I get the opportunity to weigh in on them, because I will. That is one thing the country can't say that I don't do, is weigh in on the situations that arises. So I'm here, and I'm ready to talk about a lot of things. One of the things that I want to talk about is this report by the Auditor General on corruption.
Yes.
That is, I think we need to watch that very closely, albeit that the scope of her investigation was somewhat truncated, narrowed, but she mentioned a number of other matters that arose since 2011, but I have one that needs to be expanded upon too, and I would like to talk about that this morning, because it appears like corruption is only about certain people in the civil service, official corruption, that is. And others get away with nothing being done, despite it being brought to the attention of the government. And as it doesn't make sense to make laws, OC, and in particular I'm talking about the anti-corruption law, wherein, as a member of Parliament, I have a legal obligation by law to report matters of corruption when I see them. Whether I believe or it is corruption or it amounts to corruption, I have a responsibility. Every member of Parliament has that responsibility. But then when you do, it is left to fester, or it is ignored, hoping that it goes away. Well, I'm here to tell the powers that be in the civil service, which includes the governor and deputy governor, that it's not going to go away. Because when you look at the number of cases the Auditor General has cited in her report on corruption, they're all Caymanians. And then you have people on contract in the civil service that you report and there's apparently nothing done.
And you want to make clear to the public also that when you talk about corruption, it doesn't necessarily mean getting money for something, a financial reward. It can be in other ways as well.
Well, official corruption, the genesis of official corruption is that you have used your position for the furtherance of yourself or someone else. Whether that someone else is a friend, a family member, another employee, or the likes. That's official corruption that must be weeded out, because we hear of it too much, and the Auditor General speaks of that. It's rampant out there that people are talking about it. But then when it's reported, or you think it's, or whether it's the perception or reality of it, you report it, you would expect response, And in this case, I speak specifically about that chicken farm in East End. When I to tell you the truth, I found out about this application some time ago, When I heard that there was a chicken farm approved in mid last year down in the quarry, I didn't say much because, obviously the people didn't object to it, or you would have had more controversy surrounding it. And then, and whether it's so or not, people in East End they have all thought of down the quarry being more industrial and the likes, but it's really agricultural residential. So they don't bother themselves too much with stuff going down the quarry, because from the 70s that has been heavy industrial.
Yes.
We know that. So I didn't intercede either. I just went about it. And then when I was in Kimmonbrack in September, I was called by my constituents to say that a chicken farm was being proposed up there by Tortuga Club. I said, well, you sure is this another one or what? And when I came down, I looked at it, and it was evidently the same person who had applied for the first one earlier in the year.
And what happened with the first application?
The first one was approved.
Okay.
And that had been done in the first quarter of the year, 2018. So I looked into it, and I wrote a letter to the Central Planning Authority as an official letter from me as a representative, because of course I wasn't notified, because I was not an adjoining landowner, So adjacent, they call it now, within the 300-foot radius. And I gave it to my constituents in support of their objections to this farm. And they rejected my objection letter, the planning department. So I then wrote the deputy governor, because of further follow-ups and research. I found out that it was a civil servant that had made this application in the first instance on his own personal property, and in the second instance on a company property, which he was a part of.
Okay, and you said the first one was approved?
Yes.
Okay.
But this second one now was up by Tortuga Club.
Okay.
So I wrote the deputy governor, which I should say I'm yet to receive a response from him. And I wrote him in October, I think. And then I also gave it to the new governor the day after he came here.
You met with him? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now he's your permanent governor for 4 years. So,
well, he announced to us that when we met him that he was here to work. So I said, if you're ready to work, here is one for you.
There's a job for you.
There's a job for you. Anyway, I then went to Planning Authority meeting as a spectator with the hopes that the chairman would allow me to speak. This was on the 30th of October, and he quite graciously invited me to address the CPA.
Okay.
In front of the applicant.
If I can interrupt for a second, you were finding now that having these meetings in public is extremely beneficial in terms of the flexibility that it allows the chairperson as well as the public to in an open forum to see exactly what transpires.
Absolutely, and how their decisions are made, and what evidence is presented to them, and what counter evidence. It's absolutely necessary, and I have always advocated for that.
Okay.
Because remember, I was on planning for a very long time.
Okay.
We're going to
give you a chance to collect your thought after my interruption there, so we'll take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with MLA, Mr. Orrett McLean, will continue, and the topic that we're talking about now is official corruption, perceptions and reality. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas. Alexander McKeith Crichton, 1822 to 1892. Alexander McKeith Crichton was born in Glasgow, Scotland. At the age of 19, he became chief mate, sailing on clipper ships from England to Australia. He was later transferred to the tea trade and promoted to captain. He came to Grand Cayman after being shipwrecked off the coast of Cuba. Mr. Crichton was a valuable immigrant who had a thorough knowledge of navigation, which he was pleased to impart to others. He trained and taught many Caymanian seamen and opened the first navigation school in the islands. Many men from his school became a well-known captain here, and some immigrated to the United States and became captain there as well. Alexander Crichton was also a merchant and one of the first surveyors in the Cayman Islands. He married Anne Brett Coe, and together they had 6 children. They lived at the Crichton Square in Spots.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
540 months.
16,425 days.
394,200 hours.
45 years.
That's how long we've been committed to serving you, and we won't stop there. Over the years, we have proudly grown with Cayman, making a difference in the community. That's why we're here to stand by you.
We are Cayman National.
And we thank you for standing by us for 45 years and counting.
It's 2019, and you know what they say, new year, new me.
Yeah, Bobo. For me, it's new year, new car.
For real? What you thinking of buying?
The new RAV4 from Vamp Motors. It's one of the safest compact SUVs out there with enough room inside, which is good for my family and convincing my wife we need this. Plus, it's fuel efficient, fun to drive, and on top of that, it's on sale too.
Yeah, and I hear it's one of the best-selling SUVs on the market.
Cause you don't gotta spend more to do more. That's why I'm gonna get mine now, while they have a new stock to select from.
Do more in your RAV4. Save thousands on the all-new 2019 RAV4. Test drive yours today and see why the RAV4 is a best-selling SUV in Cayman. Available only at Vamped Motors, Walkers Road.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health. It's the CMEA's 11th Annual Music Festival Weekend, coming January 25th to 28th, Heroes Day Weekend. 5 events over 4 days. Friday the 25th, catch the DJ Showcase,
Cayman Cabana,
Soul Karama,
Carib Cafe,
Reggae Revolution, Silverside's Dance Party.
Saturday the 26th, see the Young Musicians Showcase at 1 p.m. at the Hawkwill Theatre, followed by the Hero Salute at 7 p.m. at the Havana Club. Sunday the 27th, don't miss the Music Awards ceremony at the Hawkwill Theatre. And on Monday, Heroes Day, the live music showcase will merge with the Heroes Day ceremony in Georgetown for an evening of live local music. For more detailed information or tickets for the 11th Annual Music Festival, call 928-7665 or visit the Cayman Music and Entertainment Association on Facebook. Music Festival Weekend, 4 days, 5 events. Don't miss the celebration of Cayman's top musical talent.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record with your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, MLA Mr. V.Arden McLean. Before I throw the mic back over to Mr. McLean, just want to announce happy birthday greetings to Miss Patricia Wilson. Some of you may know her as Miss Patricia Forbes, formerly Forbes. Patricia Forbes used to work at the Immigration Department years ago. And happy birthday greetings are coming from Lois for Miss Patricia Wilson Nee Forbes, Lois, and all of her friends as well. So, Miss Pat, happy birthday to you today. Enjoy yourself, Mr. McLean.
Yeah. So see, I said when we break there, I was saying that when we took the break there, I was saying that I had went to the CPA and I addressed them, and certainly I can't tell them to turn it down, but I thought that they needed more information on this thing, you know. But I also wrote France, and I think to put it in context, we need to hear the letter I wrote to France and the response from the ministry, okay? So on October the 9th, 2018, I wrote to the Deputy Governor, and I said, "Dear sir, application for a chicken farm on Block 73A, parcel 16 by government employee. On September the 22nd, 2018, I submitted a letter of objection to an application for a chicken farm to be established on Block 73A, parcel 16 in East End by Dr. Kirania Jigonyo under the project name Topaz Chicken Farm. Current application, see copy attached. Since writing the aforementioned letter, it has come to my attention that the applicant, Dr. Jigonyo, is a civil servant currently employed on government contract as the senior veterinary officer with the Agriculture Department. It is also my understanding that prior to the submission of the current application, Dr. Jigonyo was also the applicant for a planning permission for another chicken farm on Block 70A, parcel 26, registered in his name, which was granted, and that this is, or at the time was, in violation of his employment contract with government, as it contravenes Section 10 of the Personnel Regulation 2017 revision. The title of Section 10 is Limited Engagement in Private Gainful Activity by the Employee. Section 10 reads, the employee agrees the employee agrees not to, without the written agreement of the chief officer, engage in any private gainful activity that conflicts with the employee's duties or might be reasonably perceived to conflict with those duties, or that impinges on his ability to complete duties diligently and conscientiously in a manner that would normally be expected by a principal employer, unquote. My inquiries indicate that at the time of both of these applications, Dr. Jigonyo was and may still be not only the director, but a shareholder of Topaz Limited of Box, so-and-so, which owns the property that is the subject of the current application. Further, there is evidence to suggest that Dr. Jigonyo may have provided evidence in the affirmative to the Central Planning Authority on the former application. If this is so, this would have created further conflict and possibly compromise himself and the Agriculture Department. I do not have to list the many reasons for the Agriculture Department and its importance to these islands, but one that is of paramount importance in this instance is that of regulating the livestock and poultry industries. The Agriculture Department is charged with the responsibility of protecting the entire population from potential diseases, and all employees must both be and be seen to be objective and above reproach. It is my concern that Dr. Gigonyo, in his role as senior veterinary officer, has compromised his authority and eroded trust in his ability to carry out his responsibilities in an independent and objective manner. His involvement in any endeavor of this nature should raise concerns of the potential risk of impaired independence and self-regulation. It should be noted that if Dr. Gigonyo has received permission pursuant to Section 10 of the Personnel Regulation 2017 revision, that this would be in direct contravention of the intention of the provision. However, if he has not received permission, then his actions are further compounded. Your kind attention in this matter would be appreciated.
Okay.
As in late October, the hearing at the CPA, at the authority, was on the 30th of October. I left here on the 1st of November to go see my aunt in England. And I received a letter scanned on the 2nd of November, 3 days after the hearing, right? From the acting chief officer. Okay. You got to listen close to this.
Now we have about 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Is it going to cover it in 3 minutes? We'll read a part of it and then may have to stop.
You shouldn't take that. Yes. I write in reference to your letter to the chair of the Central Planning Authority, CPA, dated the 22nd of September 2018, which was hand-delivered to the Minister of Education, Youth, Sports, Agriculture and Lands by the Honourable Deputy Governor. That wasn't what I wrote him. That was only a copy of his notification. The letter is in reference to your objection to the application for approval by a chicken farm on Block 73A, Parcel 16, under the project name Topaz Chicken Farm. It is my understanding from the article in the Cayman Compass on the 1st of November 2018 that the said application has been refused by the CPA. The application to the Planning Authority in relation to the project was made by Dr. Gigonyo. I admit it.
Yeah.
Who is employed by the Department of Agriculture as the senior veterinary officer. Dr. Gigonyo submitted a letter addressed to the chief officer of the Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports, Agriculture and Lands via the Director of Agriculture, seeking permission for limited engagement in private gainful activity. The director sought additional information from the employee about this company, which was received and reviewed by the director. On 31st of October 2018, the Director of Agriculture provided the senior veterinary officer and the ministry with his decision that he could not support and or advise the chief officer to support this request. Therefore, the employee has not been granted permission from the Department of Agriculture or from the Ministry of Agriculture to participate in this private gainful activity. The concerns of any real or apparent conflict of interest with the matter are now being addressed internally under the Public Service Management Law. I trust that this letter serves as an acknowledgement that the concerns you have raised are being dealt with. That was Ms. Tammy Banks, Acting Chief Officer. After 2 applications have been made is when he submitted asking permission to do it.
Okay, we're going to discuss this when we return after the 8 o'clock news. Folks, please stay tuned. Lots more to talk about here on For the Record with MLA and Mr. Orrett McLean. So please stay tuned. Don't change that dial.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Price Right is 7:59.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Access to information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. A new program is set to be launched by the portfolio of the Civil Service to give rehabilitated offenders a second chance to get back into the workforce and contributing to society. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has more.
The pilot program is called Second Chances and aims to provide a fresh start, employment for 5 Caymanians who have prior convictions but who have been rehabilitated. In a press release, the Premier says it is important to cut repeat offending by encouraging the rehabilitation of offenders and, quote, supporting them into employment on their release from prison. The pilot program is an effort to contribute toward achieving 2 broad strategic policy outcomes for government, achieving full employment, that means jobs for all Caymanians, and reducing crime and the fear of crime by offering meaningful employment. The NWDA is conducting the screening process for eligible candidates who are registered with them to seek employment. There's also a criterion set out by the portfolio of civil service, which includes things like demonstrating efforts toward their own rehabilitation, provision of character references, and skills that align with the workforce needs of the civil service. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
Those eligible can register with the National Workforce Development Agency to be considered for employment opportunities through the Second Chances program. New changes in leadership for the Sister Islands Community Policing Department. Details from Radio Cayman's Shonda Gallego.
The Sister Islands now sees Acting Police Inspector Kevin Bogle as Area Commander. Mr. Bogle has 22 years of policing experience and has been with the RCIPS for over 10 years. He's coming from the Community Policing Department, where he was the sergeant in charge of Georgetown. He began his new duties last week and has been appointed for a minimum of 2 years. For the next few weeks, Acting Inspector Bogle will focus first on conducting a thorough assessment of policing coverage and performance, and will be taking a look at current shift schedule in order to ensure better police availability. According to an RCIPS press release, Mr. Bogle's first objective is an increase in police presence on the Sister Islands with a special focus on schools. He hopes to also focus on addressing antisocial behavior, including speeding and the use and sale of drugs. He takes over from Inspector Andre Tahal, who returned to his policing duties on Grand Cayman. Shanda Gallego, Radio Cayman News.
And this Saturday, Cayman Brac's National Trust is hosting its annual winter fundraiser, the Octopus Garden Party. Committee Chairperson Kathleen Bodden-Harris says it benefits the Trust's Environmental Habitat Protection Fund,
which is the fund that allows us to procure some property, any property that we can, that we also get donations of property. And once it goes into the National Trust, it's there for perpetuity, so they become animal sanctuaries for all of our wildlife, the flora and the fauna.
The annual event kicks off at 6 p.m. on Saturday at the Brac Trust House at the end of White Bay Road. There'll be lots of food and entertainment, as well as a silent and live auction. Call 916-3960 for more information. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, who will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Debbie Russ. The United Nations Human Rights Commissioner has warned that the ongoing crisis in Venezuela could rapidly spiral out of control with what she called catastrophic consequences. Michelle Bachelet called for an independent investigation into the alleged use of excessive force by the Venezuelan authorities. A former advisor and long-standing ally of President Trump has been arrested and charged by the special counsel, Robert Mueller. Roger Stone is accused of obstructing an official proceeding, making false statements and witness tampering. A pro-Kurdish MP in Turkey who is seriously ill following an 11-week hunger strike has been released from prison. Leyla Güven was jailed a year ago for criticising Turkish military action in a Kurdish town in Syria. The Greek Parliament is voting on whether to accept the new name of its northern neighbour as the Republic of North Macedonia. If its MPs ratify a UN-brokered deal, it would end a dispute nearly 3 decades old. Human rights groups say Saudi Arabia must allow access to detainees, including women's rights campaigners. Amnesty International says it has documented 10 cases of torture and abuse among the more than a dozen women's rights activists arrested since last May. BBC News.
Access information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you.
Did you make resolutions for healthier eating? Then weigh portions on a kitchen scale for $5.99 and make noodles of your favorite vegetables with a tabletop spiralizer for $36.09. Or try an indoor electric low-fat grill from Gotham for $39.05. Eliminate clutter and maximize space with a cubicle storage organizer for $68.49. And save on a 5-gallon wet-dry vac for only $55.99.
Kirk's Home Center.
The Cayman Economic Outlook Conference returns to the Kimpton Seafire Resort Thursday, February 28th with the theme Dynamic New World. Get your early bird rates by registering online at rfceo.ky. That's rfceo.ky. Early bird rates available only until January 31st. Take part in this dynamic discussion with the world's leading thinkers and doers on global business, science, technology, finance, politics, and culture, and see how this affects the Cayman economy. The CEO Conference at the Kimpton Seafire Resort, happening Thursday, February 28th. Get your early bird tickets rates by January 31st by registering online at rfceo.ky.
Hi, my name is Neraya LeBlanc. I am the minister and evangelist to the West Bay Church of Christ on 24 Batabano Road. I would love to take this opportunity to invite you to experience God's family at West Bay for yourself. We are a caring congregation that strongly believes in reaching out beyond ourselves to spread the gospel of Christ. We also take great pleasure in ministering to the needs of our people in our community. As God's called out kingdom people, we are in the business of transforming lives for the Master's use. For more information, you can visit our website at westbaycichurchofchrist.org or call us at 946-9294 or 917-1809.
Declaring the word of the Lord.
Cayman Islands Church of Christ presents Word of the Lord.
Word of the Lord, heard Sundays at 6:30 p.m. on Radio Cayman.
In financial news, global stock markets advanced today amid optimism over the potential for China-U.S. trade talks to help end a tariffs war between the two largest economies. Keeping score, France's CAC 40 advanced 1% to 4,919, while Germany's DAX gained 1.4% to 11,284. Britain's FTSE 100 edged up 0.4% to 6,843. U.S. shares were set to rise, with Dow and S&P 500 futures both up 0.7%. Looking at Asia's day, Japan's benchmark Nikkei 225 rose 1% to finish at 20,773. South Korea's Kospi surged 1.5% to 2,177. Hong Kong's Hang Seng gained 1.6% to 27,548, while the Shanghai Composite edged up 0.4% to 2,601. In energy, U.S. crude added 23 cents to $53.36 a barrel in electronic trading on the New York Mercantile Exchange. It rose 1% to $53.13 per barrel in New York overnight. Brent crude, used to price international oils, rose 12 cents to $61.21 per barrel in London. And in currencies, the dollar edged up to 109.80 yen from 109.53. The euro fell to 1.1337 from 1.1389.
Kirk Freeport is inviting local customers to view the highly exclusive Patek Philippe one-of-a-kind unique traveling collection of watches. The collection will be in Grand Cayman for just 1 week before it's whisked off to its next destination and features a collection of unique, rare timepieces from the last family-owned Genevan luxury watch manufacturer. Visit Kirk Freeport's Bayshore Mall location between Friday the 25th and Thursday the 31st of January to view the Patek Philippe traveling collection in Cayman for 1 week only. Visit KirkFreeport.com for more information.
Good morning once again. Time now for the latest weather report. Current temperature is 76 degrees. Relative humidity is 98%. Barometric pressure 29.74 inches and rising. The wind is east-northeast at 4 knots. Overnight low temperature was 73. Synopsis indicate light to moderate winds and slight to moderate seas expected over the next 24 hours as the high-pressure system over the Atlantic Ocean weakens. Satellite pictures also show a cold front currently stationary over western Cuba. Now, this front is expected to continue to weaken through this evening. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area, which are moving towards the west. Now, the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures will be in the low 80s today. Your winds will be easterly at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Expect tonight partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures falling to the low 70s. Winds will be east to northeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Low tide will be this morning at 10:51, high tide this afternoon at 3 minutes past 4, and a low tide again tonight at a minute after 11. The sun will set this evening at 6:13 and will rise tomorrow morning at 2 minutes after 7. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Sunday morning, with the winds veering towards the southeast at that time. That's the very latest on your weather report. Good morning once again, and busy traffic coming from the east on the Shamrock Road, also on the Linford Pearson Highway. Traffic is heavy. As we look what's happening from the West Bay four-way stop, light to moderate traffic flow. No issues on Godfrey Nixon Way as traffic is flowing pretty good, as well as Eastern Avenue. Light to moderate traffic flow on Edward Street in front of the Georgetown Post Office. And traffic flowing moderately on North Sound Road. And on the West Bay Road, moderate flow of traffic in both directions, especially in front of the Ritz. And let's take a look at what's happening coming off of Bobby Thompson Way. Traffic is moderate and some sections of Crew Road busy, other sections steady. And that's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll update you traffic-wise. Have a good morning and drive safe, Cayman Islands.
Having a party at the beach or a team building exercise at the park? Reserving your cabana is easy with the Public Works Department online booking system. Create your account and use the online calendar to pick your desired date and facility. You can even pick the cabana you want to use. Look for your confirmation email, print it off, and bring it with you as proof of reservation. Enjoying our natural environment has never been so easy. Visit www.eservices.gov.ky to book your cabana today.
If your 2019 resolutions include clear and healthy skin, then ask the pharmacist at Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor about Proactive and X-Out skincare products. Get your best blemish-free skin ever with dermatologist-developed Proactive. X-Out is a revolutionary doctor-developed acne treatment designed just for teens. This one-step face cleanser works 3 ways to clear up acne. Ask the pharmacist at the Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor for advice on Proactive and X-Out. 2019 will be your year of clear and healthy skin. Healthcare Pharmacy, Grand Harbor.
Hi, I'm Dawn McLean Brady, President of the Cayman Islands Small Business Association, better known as CISPA. Small businesses drive Cayman's economy. As small business owners, we depend on government to create an environment where we, as entrepreneurs, can do what we do best, and that's to provide products and services that are valuable to our customers and, in turn, employ others. The cruise piers and cargo ports provide these opportunities. Encourage our government to build a port and let the Caymanian entrepreneurial spirit shine. Support the port, support our tourism.
A local law firm is proud to sponsor the dream team of the Cayman Islands Little Grand Race. The Conyers, Dillon, Perriman Little Grand Race kiteboarding team of Oscar Boudreau, Jake Serpel, and Louis Vaganez will undertake the Little Grand Race 2019 to raise funds for the benefit of the Cayman Islands Cancer Society. This challenging race takes place February 18th through the 25th and will see experienced kiteboarders travel the distance from Little Cayman to Grand Cayman in a single day. Participants will undergo both a physical and mental test as they attempt to cover roughly 90 miles of distance in as little time as possible. And in international sports and cricket news, at the end of an extraordinary second day of the first test, England are starting at being 1 down to West Indies. 18 wickets fell on Thursday in Barbados, 10 of them belonging to the tourists as they were shot out for 77. There may have been a tiny sniff for England when they reduced the home side to 61 for 5 in their second innings, but realistically the game was already up. And with West Indies then recovering to 127 for 6 by the close, 339 ahead, it would take something absolutely remarkable for Joe Root's side to win this match. It started going wrong for England when Root exchanged team sheets with opposite number Jason Holder before the toss on Wednesday.
Tune in to Radio Cayman every morning at 7:20 a.m. for your daily weather update. Proudly brought to you by Miller's Plumbing and Accessories. With over 47 years of experience, they'll get the job done for you on time. Free estimate. Miller's Plumbing and Accessories. Call them at 949-4709 for a free estimate.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, MLA Mr. V.Arden McLean, talking about corruption perceived or in reality in the Cayman Islands. Mr. McLean.
Yeah, thank you, O.C. O.C., what concerns me is that the Auditor General has listed a number of areas where, since 2011, we had corruption of one man or the other in the civil service. For instance, in 2011, she lists some of them, but she said since 2011 there have been a number of high-profile fraud and corruption cases in the public domain, including the following. 2011 civilian employer Royal Cayman Police Force, Caymanian. 2013 former managing director of ERA, Caymanian. 2014 former chair of Health Services Authority. We know who that was. Caymanian. 2014 police officer for bribery, Caymanian. Between 2016 and 18, 12 people charged with bribery, public officer fraud, and breach of trust relating to immigration. 6 are Department of Immigration staff, Caymanians. The Managing Director of National Roads Authority, Caymanian. The Director of Port Authority, Caymanian. Senior Custom Officer, allegedly evaded due to fees, Caymanian. Cayman Turtle Farm employee, Caymanian. Former Administration of Facilities Management, Caymanian. 2 civilian employee at RCIPS, Caymanian. 2 security officer, Health Services Authority, Caymanian. 3 people, including 1 member of staff at Department of Vehicle and driver's license, have been arrested in connection with ongoing cases of bribery of public officials, fraud in the government, and breach of trust. I don't know who the last one are because that's... Now, O.C., we continue to talk about how OECD, we want them to provide us with a level playing field. But we can't apply that same thing in the civil service. And then we got Roydell that from DEH that has been gone as well. Yeah. That is gone.
I think you want to put a marker down that you're not condoning.
Oh, I gotta say that.
Okay.
I don't condone corruption. Mm-hmm. That's not part of my life. But you cannot expect to apply the law for one sector of the civil service and then not for another. Mm-hmm. And we see it playing itself out all the time. Now, Franz has announced that he wants a world-class... The deputy governor. Mm-hmm. Wants a world-class civil service. That's his objective. How do you expect to get that when you get civil servants in there who sees these things? That is not morale building, nor is it building a world-class civil service, which should include and must include zero official corruption. When you have someone on contract, such as the chief veterinary officer, and the perception is nothing has been done. I did not even have the courtesy of a response from the deputy governor. He spoke to me and saying he had turned it over to them. I said, listen, I wrote it to you. That is what is going on here. And if we do not stop it, this country will not get any better.
Mm-hmm. Is it possible that the deputy governor passed it on to them because at some point in time he may ultimately have to make a decision and didn't want it to pair as a conflict?
Absolutely, that may be the case. Uh-huh. But the fact is, it was addressed to him. And at the very least, there is a separation of powers, and one should not usurp the other. Mm-hmm. Okay? One should not exercise or try. The essence of that is separation is that you don't try to exercise the power of the other powers mm-hmm. of the other arm of government. But at the very least, there should be some respect shown to me in one arm of that of that government, that I should at least have received a response. And by now, don't you think something as simple as this could have been resolved, investigated and resolved and done away with? Mm-hmm. Something tells me something is wrong with that. I trust, because it is a practice of government, and in particular this one, to wait until people's contract expire and then say the person has departed the civil service. I trust that is not their intent, because that doesn't all go well with the many Caymanians who
still have these things hanging over their heads.
And having these things hanging over their heads. Yeah. That doesn't all go well. And it doesn't send the right message, not only to me, but it doesn't send the right message to the rank and file of the civil service, who we depend on every day. And, you know, when it's necessary to deal with civil servants, you need to deal with them. Like any other employee or relationship between employee and employer. Mm-hmm. And here we are. Now, it is my understanding that they have appealed the decision of the Central Planning Authority.
Mm-hmm. Which is a right that they have.
Who?
Any applicant who's aggrieved, I would imagine, if they...
I hope it's not him.
Well, I'm not saying him. You say they.
Say they have. I can only say they because it's he's the applicant. I hope it's not him.
He was the sole applicant?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because you remember now, Planning Authority law, Development and Planning law says, listen carefully, Ossie.
Okay, I will.
48. Appeals against decision of the authority. Mm-hmm. Any person who has applied for planning permission, or who has objected to an application for planning permission after being notified of that application in accordance with regulations made under this law, and who's aggrieved by the decision of the authority in respect to the application may, within 14 days of notification of that decision under Section 40 by mail or whatever, or within such longer period as the tribunal may in any particular case allow for good cause, appeal against that decision to the tribunal on the grounds that it is erroneous in law, unreasonable, contrary to the principles of natural justice, or at variance with any development plan having effect in relation thereto. It got to be him or the objectors. The objectors would, and you understand why you allow objectors if it went against what they wanted, then they would be allowed to do it. And I hope it's him. But then on the 2nd of November,
of that letter,
he don't have no authority to do that, but he's still in the civil service. Listen to me.
Now, neither one of us are lawyers, but it is quite possible that the mere fact that he didn't receive approval
the day after the planning decision. The day after the planning decision on the 31st of October.
That his application should not have been considered in the first instance. Now, as far as the planning authority is concerned, did they have an obligation to check to see whether or not that person was a public servant, a civil servant?
No.
And he wasn't required to disclose that he was a civil servant?
That is the situation that I spoke to the board about when the chairman said they do not have any requirement to do due diligence like other departments. For instance, if you go and do a business license, they got to do due diligence, find out if you Caymanian, the this, the that, what have you, where you're going to run the business from. They got to inspect it, planning got to inspect it to verify it and stuff. Planning has none of that requirement. And then I said to the chairman then, it may be time that this board, we change the law to require you to do that. Because here we are, somebody from overseas can come here, buy a piece of property, do a holding company, which I believe is what these people did, do a holding company and go and apply for planning permission on that piece of property, and there's no due diligence done on them. Absolutely none. So we don't know if they have sufficient capital to do it. This is the only country in the world that we do not have a bond for development.
Well, isn't this part of what the OECD is talking about in terms of the ability to...
Absolutely. So let's not think that we're lily white. We have our own situations where we need to address, and we need to address them, especially when it comes to due diligence. For instance, how these people get into agriculture and farming. Or see, in the infinite wisdom of our forefathers who did this trade and business license law to try to control trade and business in the country, one of the things they did was, and I supported it and continue to support it, was to remove farming from agriculture farming from the requirements of a trade and business license. Because when we look back at our people, what we did was plant in the ground. We used to make our ground and then sell it for subsistence. We would sell it to our friends or go down the road. You remember how the old man from East End used to come down Georgetown by the town hall and remember those are our stories. They only now see the glory, right? And so we exempted farming from that. So people are now coming in and jumping on that bandwagon because they don't have Cayman status or otherwise. They have no standing here, but they can do farming and they don't need a trade and business license. So what they do is go and create a holding company, purchase the property, and then go into farming. And there are a couple of them that are here that I got addressed. But what we need to do is to amend the law. But you cannot do it unless we need to come up with a creative way of changing the law that will prevent people from using holding companies to create farming business. We need to come up with some creative ways. And that's one of the things I want to talk to the Premier about. We need to stop that. We need to stop it. We need to stop it now.
Okay. We have 2 callers, but we have to go to a commercial break. We are asking those 2 callers to hang in there. Quick commercial break. When we return, we will take your call. So please stay tuned.
It's 2019, and you know what they say, new year, new me?
Yeah, Bobo. For me, it's new year, new car.
For real? What you thinking of buying?
The new RAV4 from Vampt Motors. It's one of the safest compact SUVs out there with enough room inside, which is good for my family and convincing my wife we need this. Plus, it's fuel efficient, fun to drive, and on top of that, it's on sale too.
Yeah, and I hear it's one of the best-selling SUVs on the market.
Cause you don't gotta spend more to do more. That's why I'm gonna get mine now, while they have a new stock to select from.
Do more in your RAV4. Save thousands on the all-new 2019 RAV4. Test drive yours today and see why the RAV4 is a best-selling SUV in Cayman. Available only at Vampt Motors, Walkers Road.
I remember playing at 7 Mile Beach as a boy, eating mango by the sea, learning how to snorkel. My mother, she worked so hard to provide for our family so that we could have those moments. Seeing her age has been tough. That strong, capable woman, now in need of daily support, it's my time to be strong for her.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
What do rising geopolitical tensions mean for Cayman? How will the healthcare industry change with the emergence of a genetic revolution? With nationalism growing globally, magnified by Brexit and the U.S. Republican agenda, what are the implications for Cayman? The Cayman Economic Outlook Conference 2019 will answer these and other questions as it explores the theme, Dynamic New World, Braving the Turmoil. Be a part of the discussion on February 28th at the Kimpton Seafire Resort. Reserve your spot today and take advantage of the early bird rates. Sign up at rfceo.ky. rfceo.ky.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record with your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, MLA Mr. V.Arden McLean. We're going to the phone lines as promised. First caller. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Connor, and good morning, my good friend Arden.
Good morning.
I know that you're not on the subject this morning, but I have nowhere else to turn. I don't know what else to do because I have exhausted everything that I know, or every corner that I know that I needed to go to. It's in connection with my neighbor's garbage, and I'm dealing with this for over 25 years. And I think it's starting to affect our health right now. I've written letters, I've complained, I've called, I've gone on the radio, I've spoken to this one and that one, I've had officials come by and look at it in 25 years. And nothing, absolutely nothing has been done. If nothing has gotten worse. This garbage is erected onto my property, onto my wall that I erected. When I was doing it, I asked everybody around if they wanted to be a part of it. Nobody came forward. And it's just been downhill from there. They've used it for a clothesline from the back of the property to the front. But to make a long story short, it's just been it's been a thorn in my side. I cannot go out in my front yard. I cannot go to my gate. The smell is unbearable. I don't know what's in the garbage. Whether the truck comes today and clear it out, by tomorrow it's piled up high again and it's into my hedge, that the whole side of that hedge is rotted out. Nothing grows there, and the garbage falls over into my property, and it falls out onto the road, and the wind from the east blows it all the way down to my property line. 2 mornings ago, I went out there, and they were Pampers with you know what scattered out all over there. I mean, like about 15, 16, 20 Pampers or more, along with other garbage. And I had to rake that up, and I raked it back into their yard because I'm not picking up anybody's nasty garbage because I don't have any garbage out there. So I need somebody, the powers that be, somebody this morning, DEH. I've gone on Facebook. and they've told me, oh, somebody will take care of you. And it's 20-odd years, and it's ridiculous. I said the next step for me to do is go to the Complaints Commission's department, because something is wrong in the government. Why people are not doing, they have enforcement departments and nobody's enforcing anything. What's the sense of having these laws and bringing up new laws every day? I'm sorry for going on this morning.
You go ahead and do what you got to do.
Yes. I am frustrated. We're constantly coughing, my son and I. We're constantly sick. And the smell, like I said, you pull up to my gate, you will swear the smell is coming from my yard.
And have you spoken directly to the people involved?
Oh my gosh, you can't talk to them. I have tried, and he's blatantly told me, no, he ain't moving it. I said, can't you find somewhere else to put it? He's erected a half a column onto my wall, and the majority of the column is on his property, where he now has erected the garbage thing onto it. I mean, somebody else, some official, somebody needs to do something about this, because I cannot take it anymore. Mm-hmm. I am to the end of my rope.
Well, the public law, public health law, specifically, and planning law specifically speaks of being a nuisance to the properties, and the responsibility under the public health law lies with the DEH and public health department up at the hospital, and they have a responsibility to correct that nuisance.
My understanding is that the DEH may have been out there. Am I correct with that caller?
They were here donkey years ago. I haven't seen or heard from anybody
recently
in the recent years that I've been complaining. It's not just garbage. There's a car bonnet, there's car parts, there's sometimes a pile of tires. I mean, the house is built too near to my house, and there's stuff falling over all the time. There's tenants over there. There's garbage bags hung on my stuff. They've mutilated my hedges. I could have just got it next. Sometimes I can't afford to cut it in 3-4 months. It's all grown up. And the minute I get it cut, he light a fire in the wall and burn out part of it. I mean, he just spiteful.
Have you and I'm not sure whether or not you're in a financial position to do this, but have you spoken to a lawyer to see whether or not you can take any civil action against the...
That's what the police told me to do, but I can't afford a lawyer. Okay. I would have to go to legal aid, and the story with that. But it should it should not have to go to that, because government have people on staff that they're paying to see to it that we don't die and get sick from other people's germs.
Mm-hmm. But that's a long, drawn-out process. I just spoke to a lady yesterday. 6 years someone stole from her company. It's over 6 years now that that this thing hasn't been brought to court. The justice system works, but it works. It grinds all mighty slow or something like that. It grinds fine, but it grinds very slow. And we have laws which allows the authorities to exercise powers and authority to correct these matters. And it's unfortunate that you are not allowed to enjoy your own property. Because I must tell you, I mean, where I live, I have beautiful neighbors on either side of me. And we don't have any problems of that nature. When we have an issue, we go and correct it. But when you get a neighbor who is not being reasonable or doing things that is not safe, not only for him but for other surrounding human beings, then something needs to be done, and the authorities have the right to do that. And I would appeal to the Minister for the Environment, the Honourable Minister Seymour, to correct this matter. I think you should call him. You should have a meeting with him.
I think I will, because the fact of the matter is the house is built, and planning told them not to add to it, and it's gone up to upstairs house, and it's got almost a third floor, and it's got 100 windows on it, and it's like five. It's too near to my property.
Well, again, it gets worse by the second. Every time you make something else, it's getting worse there, my dear. But that's even worse. Planning should put a stop notice on them.
Okay. He did, but he
hesitated, and the minute they gave it, that he saw that everything was cool, he started back again. And he's building in the night, all hours of the night, all hours of the morning when you're sleeping, on the weekend when people want to rest, stuff flying from off the roof, licking in your head, you're trying to hang up your clothes on the line. Anyways, I'll leave it there. Okay. You guys have a blessed day, and I hope somebody that heard, and I'm sure they know who I'm talking about, because that person's a nuisance for everybody in this neighborhood.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much, and wish you all the best, and keep at it. Keep hammering away, even if you have to call back to us at another date and time as well. Next, we're going to take one more call. Well, we're going to try to see if we can accommodate 2 calls before the break. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O.C. Mr. Arden.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
No, when I hear you talk about corruption, I had to smile because I have so many cases of corruption with proper evidence against it. But because most of them is high-profile people, especially in the police department and other areas of government, that some lawyers didn't want to take it. But if I had gotten a lawyer through government, I'd probably be a multi-millionaire with compensation that would have had to pay me.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on Mr. Monison. I would say that he's one of the ones that I called. He made a few calls and corrected a problem I was having. Right? And I would like to say about him what Pilate said when Jesus came up from being beaten. This is a man. And what I really call about is just to mention a few things, insignificant almost news bulletins that people would probably hardly pay attention to. But I think could affect Cayman greatly. You know, Cayman money is tied with the U.S. dollar. And most of our imports, everything is from the U.S. Now, there's 2 events that happened recently. One, that arrest of a Chinese lady in Canada. That is a very, very big problem. Because hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And the Chinese are very patient and now very powerful. The other thing is, all is Trump after in Venezuela. I mean, he's been after Cuba, he's been after Grenada, Nicaragua. But now Russia has given him some advice. It would say, keep out of the affairs of Venezuela. And Russia has recently built a missile that can go 7 times the speed of sound and zigzag when it's going. And if problems arise between Russia and America or China and America, Cayman government is right in the middle of it. Right? So just a few thoughts for your consideration, gentlemen.
Okay.
Okay, we have to take a commercial break now. We have one more caller. We are going to ask that caller to hang in there. Quick commercial break. When we return, we will engage you in the conversation. Please stay tuned.
It is amazing to see my daughter grow up and make a difference in the world, but it is also completely terrifying to worry about her when she goes out with her friends. It is my job as a father to make sure she makes smart decisions and is safe as a young woman. So, when my daughter needs quality care, I take her to CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
The Cayman Economic Outlook Conference returns to the Kimpton Seafire Resort Thursday, February 28th, with the theme Dynamic New World. Get your early bird rates by registering online at rfceo.ky. That's rfceo.ky. Early bird rates available until January 31st. Take part in this dynamic discussion with the world's leading thinkers and doers on global business, science, technology, finance, politics, and culture, and see how this affects the Cayman economy. The CEO Conference at the Kimpton Seafire Resort, Thursday, February 28th. Get your early bird rates by January 31st by registering online at rfceo.ky.
It's 2019, and you know what they say, new year, new me.
Yeah, Bobo. For me, it's new year, new car.
For real? What you thinking of buying?
The new RAV4 from Vant Motors. It's one of the safest compact SUVs out there with enough room inside, which is good for my family and convincing my wife we need this. Plus, it's fuel efficient, fun to drive, and on top of that, it's on sale too.
Yeah, and I hear it's one of the best-selling SUVs on the market.
Cause you don't gotta spend more to do more. That's why I'm gonna get mine now, while they have a new stock to select from.
Do more in your RAV4. Save thousands on the all-new 2019 RAV4. Test drive yours today and see why the RAV4 is a best-selling SUV in Cayman. Available only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit britk.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit-K, where people come first.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, MLA Mr. V.Arden McLean. We're going to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Thanks for waiting.
Mr. For the Record.
Good morning, Doc. How are you?
I'm fine, and good morning to Mr. McLean.
Good morning.
Hey, we're getting a little echo there if you're on your speakerphone, Doc.
I sent you a message. But that's not what I'm calling about.
Yeah, I responded to it too.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Doc.
Yeah. That's not what I'm calling about. I would like to speak about that. If you are a man that's supposed to it.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so to Mr. McLean, you're having some problems with your ability to get things done as a legislator, as an MLA, and you were talking about the system, how it works, and that they have disregarded you, and you don't have any respect from them. You're not getting the kind of respect that you expected from them. But then, Mr. McLean, your argument is flawed.
Okay.
Because you talk about that, and then with this issue you have, and then you said you spoke to the head of planning, whatever it is of planning, and saying that the law should be changed, and then you said that some other law should be changed, and then you said you spoke to the premier about it.
No, I said
he will.
I will.
You said you will.
Yes.
Why would you speak to the premier?
Well,
you already know that the law has to be changed.
Well,
so why don't you don't use the opposition? You don't government in Haiti. So why don't you bring an amendment to the law to change the law? That's what you should be doing. And that is one of the reasons why these people in government do not have and do not respect you guys, because you do not forceful. You do not abide by the powers of the Constitution gives you.
Doc, I'm going to get someone to from the control room to speak to you for a second, because you're drifting in and out. You're drifting in and out. Just want to remind our other callers, toll-free number 1-800-534-8255. You can call us on 949-8037, 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord. That is one word, for the record, at CANDW.KY. WhatsApp us at 925-3261. And follow us, Radio Cayman live stream. Subscribe to that to follow us on YouTube as well. Let's try the caller again and see if we get a better reception now. Caller, we're still here. Go ahead.
Yes?
Yeah, go ahead, caller.
So your group is under the Constitution and under the Westminster system of government is a government in waiting. So you and your group should be bringing your necessary amendments to any law that has to be amended. You shouldn't have to wait for the the state of planning to make the amendments to the law or the premier, and that's the problem. Because your people don't do that. You always run to them to get it done, and they don't even have respect for you because you got effective in the legislature. The same way that the Constitution gave the Legislative Assembly the power of the purse, so that cabinet cannot spend money unless it's appropriated by the legislature. That's the same way that you should be holding the government to account, and that you should be showing the nation, the country, that you are ready to govern by bringing amendments. And don't tell me that you don't have the experience, because there are all kinds of courses that you can take and under the state of drafting. You don't have to be a lawyer to do that. I was doing that before I was a lawyer, and when I had the opportunity to become a director, deputy chairman of the airport authority, and I was there, and I remember Craig Sambola saying to me, "But you know what you're directing?" I says, "No, I went to University of Birmingham and I went to the States and took the course in airport operations to see so I could be effective in what I was doing. The same thing with the roads authority, and you know that too. I went to the University of Birmingham to take the course in road management and road financing. So, that's what you guys are getting paid for. You're getting paid for to show the opposition to the government, to show what you can do, the alternative to them. And that's the problem that we have in this country."
Steve, I agree with you, and I will not, but I think you may have dropped short of what my intent was, and it is when we can best work these things out when we have a cross the aisle discussion, particularly on things when it comes to Caymanians have a right now, and to prevent others from encroaching on that right. And when amendments are required, I think we can work better across the aisle, bipartisan agreements. And you're right. We have the authority, the right to bring amendments. Of course, that don't necessarily mean the amendments are going to get through, because the government will always have its way, and we will have our say. The opposition must always be allowed to have its say. It doesn't mean it's going to get through, but yes, I have the experience that I can write amendments to those laws. I have seen worse than me, I can tell you that, who are drafters of laws, and I have had to correct many. But yeah, and I agree with you, but you understand it's when you're going to write an entire law, it is a very tedious, expensive thing. I see where they are now going to put in a new system so that they can cross-reference. The law can be cross-referenced and all that when you're writing it. But the fact that they have those tools, it is easier for them to get it done.
Well, that is not an excuse. But you are a government in waiting, so you should be putting forward alternatives to them. Even if it means amendments or motions or law, you should show the nation, the country, that you are ready to govern tomorrow if something happened to them. If they're coming back in New York, sit in the plane crash, and they don't have the numbers, and they lose the vote in the House, you're going to have to be governed immediately. So you should be showing the nation that you are ready to govern tomorrow, tonight, today.
But you know what happens with motions when you bring them, and I have brought many motions, as you well know, and this country knows, and I'm not afraid of doing that, and I can write motions too, because I can set them out in the proper manner, and that's from years of experience at it. And what happens with motions, they either reject them, that's the end of them, or they accept them, be it modified or otherwise. And then they just sit on the shelf and no government. And not this government in particular. Every government has ever, since time begun, has done that. They don't do anything with it. And then you ask them questions about it, and they say they're working on that.
The idea, Mr. Clean, is to have them debated.
Yes.
That's the idea. To have the issue read in the nation's house, in the nation's parliament. That's the idea.
I totally agree with you, Steve. And one of the things I had to explain to someone when we were bringing a no confidence motion, they said, "But you're not going to win." I said, "Well, what's wrong with losing? We need to debate it. We need to bring to the forefront all of the things that needs to be brought to the forefront. That is the objective of a motion. That's the objective of, in particular, of a no confidence motion." You think Jerry Corbyn thought that he was going to win that one against May? No.
Exactly.
He figured he wasn't going to win it, but he wanted to say what he had to say on the floor, so you would set the stage for later on when things got out of hand, but the public already know what is what.
Yes.
And another thing before I go, Mr. Connor, the lady who called in just now.
Yes.
I think she has a violence and sexual issue. That is the leading case in the issue that she's talking about. That is, people cannot keep things on their own property that cause nuisance and damage to other people's property. So that's what she needs to do.
And who would force that, or where would she seek to have that addressed or seek redress?
Sometimes our laws, it can be a public nuisance, which she can go to the government, the Attorney General, or the government, whoever it is, the Solicitor General, or the DPP. Depends on whether it's a criminal nuisance or a private public nuisance, or she can take an action in court.
Yeah.
And I believe, since it's a public nuisance, that legal aid would fund that for her.
Yes.
Especially since she has children and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So people need to know these things. People need to know these things so they can have a remedy. Because what I found that in Cayman, that people don't know how to do things in their ways because they have never taught. I didn't know that when I was growing up either, what to do when something happened. It's one of that's how other countries can learn by reading and writing, by reading and going to getting the right information. We don't have any information system there where people get all that information.
But Doc, this is where we need that entity that you and Ms. Pitcairn we're talking about, establishing where people could get legal advice from. We see recently again the talk about not enough legal aid lawyers around as well. So we need some public advocacy group that will she could go to and get this sort of advice from.
For the record, we were thrown under the bus for that.
Yeah,
I know.
That's a long story.
We
were thrown under the bus for that because the person who was doing that, we didn't know the involvement, and we were thrown under the bus for that. We would have been saving the government near $1 million a year now if we had the legal service office set up. And but that's another thing. That is because people want to keep their constituents, their electoral district ignorant, so that they could get the vote forever.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Doc, for that. You have a great weekend, and we'll be in touch. Just let me know when, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Record. Thank you, Mr. McLean.
Okay. Steve, thank you.
We have about 2 minutes before the headline news. Anything you can say in 2 minutes, Mr. McLean?
Well, Lucy, I know we have gone a little off where I started this morning, and that's fine. I don't have too much problems with that. But at the time, I was saying that I trust that it's the nerve of the people who come to this country, and they do as they please. No one is supposed to question them. I mean, we see those who are now promoting fifth-story buildings and that kind of stuff. Don't think that was just so-and-so that the speaker spoke of that. That is deliberately done. That has some deliberate intentions. But that's going to take its licks. And I mean, when Ian Paget Brown spoke in in 2013, I think it was, at the opening of the Grand Court, and talked about his 42 years of being called to the bar. And since then, how the landscape has changed. At the time, I think he said that people saw this as a cash cow, in essence, paraphrasing. And there is a cash cow here. The problem is that we are not making provisions for those of us who have been here for generations.
To milk the cow.
Yeah,
let's take a break there for headliners.
Or to drink from the pail.
Yeah.
You know, and that bothers me. It bothers me, but like Steve just said, Dr. Frank just said, Dr. Ackfield just said, the responsibility is ours. If we are to he who much is given, much is expected, and we must as legislators make provisions for that,
okay.
and we need to step up to that responsibility. And Steve, if you're listening, I totally agree with you.
Okay, I'm going to headline news. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Got you covered.
You ever hear a tune like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
A new program is launched by the portfolio of the Civil Service to give rehabilitated offenders a second chance at getting back into the workforce. Those eligible and interested in the Second Chances program should register with the National Workforce Development Agency. Political strategist Roger Stone, a longtime ally of President Trump, has been arrested in Florida, charged with 7 counts in the Mueller probe. Mr. Stone will appear in court later today in the city of Fort Lauderdale. The indictment includes 1 count of obstruction of an official proceeding, 5 counts of false statements, and 1 count of witness tampering. The charges are linked to an alleged Russia-led hack into the emails of Democratic Party officials. And the Queen has urged people to find, quote, common ground and to respect, quote, different points of view. Commenters say the remarks will be seen as referring to the Brexit debate, with MPs due to vote on the PM's deal for leaving the European Union again next week. MPs rejected the deal last week, but the UK will leave on March 29th with no deal unless they can agree on a way forward. A BBC royal correspondent said there was, quote, little doubt the Queen was sending a message. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, MLA Mr. V.Arden McLean, who, of course, you know, represents the District of East End in our Legislative Assembly. Ms. Susan, I want to hold off on the calls just for a few minutes because we want to switch gears, go to another topic. Much has been said about this, the requirements of the European Union, OECD, in relation to having a substantial presence, companies having a substantial presence. There is an article in the Royal Gazette, the Bermudan newspaper, and it was written on the 18th of January of this year, and the title is A Substantial Change to Bermuda's Future. The author of that article is a gentleman by the name of Scott Pearman, and he talks about the fact that there is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. These are emotions doctors tell us are the 5 stages of grief. 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And he says that the people working in Bermuda's international business community have experienced most of these emotions since the gunboat of European Union economic substance appeared on the horizon, with consequential legislation passing through Parliament just before Christmas. So you had the legislation passed before Christmas there. We had the legislation passed here in the Cayman Islands, passed in the British Virgin Islands, several other jurisdictions as well. He goes on to say denial and anger were first out of the gate, of course, just as the cycle dictates, denial and anger. Denial from some that an increase in required presence for Bermuda will be a bad thing. Deniers suggest legislative change could mean more jobs for Bermudans. And he goes on to say, well, it could. But will jobs gained through enhanced presence outweigh the job losses caused by companies that may leave Bermuda as a result? Talks about anger that the European Union is forcing upon Bermuda, and you could take the word Bermuda and insert Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, other places as well, the requirements for more physical business presence when the union is not demanding the same for its European members, right? Uneven playing field again, Mr. McLean, right? Mm-hmm. Do as I say and not as I do has been the EU's mantra thus far. EU demands have focused upon 13 international financial centers, including Bermuda, yet the EU has elected not to hold its own members to the same standards. And he asks the question, why? Okay? Anger. That, for now at least, there is no level playing field, no singular global standard. There is only a heavy burden imposed by the EU upon the offshore world. Anger also, as politicians, in an extremely perceptive article this month, former One Bermuda Alliance Senator Vic Ball expressed his personal views that, quote, our political leaders have failed grossly to prepare us for exactly how the EU substance legislation is bound to affect every Bermudan in a substantial way. And again, you can put Bermuda and substitute that with the Cayman Islands or any of those other 13 jurisdictions as well. Anger and denial. So what does this all mean, and how will it affect us? In simple terms, the 13,000 or so companies and other business entities in Bermuda will, by the summer of 2019, at the latest, face a stark choice. Either companies must comply with the EU substance legislation by ensuring an adequate presence on the island, or those businesses will move elsewhere. Then there's stage 3 of grief, bargaining. In many respects, bargaining is largely behind us. So, we've passed that point, he says, although some may not yet appreciate what has happened. Yes, there is a transition period of 6 months to ensure relevant businesses implement substance. But the EU has already forced international financial centers to show their hands. Most centers, including Bermuda, have already passed domestic legislation on substance. We said that before. As a member of the opposition, I might be expected to blame the Progressive Labour Party government for being late to the bargaining stage. Being fair, Bermuda faced precious little choice but to comply with EU demands. Same may be said for the Cayman Islands. Those are my words. This was a rare occasion when the interests of our insurers and reinsurers, Bermuda Re, did not align with the rest of Bermuda Inc., given the crucial importance of Bermuda Re to our economy, that's reinsurance business. Our Parliament was keen to keep Bermuda off the EU's blacklist. Same may be said here in terms of our financial industry, because we rely heavily on our financial industry, while Bermuda relies more on the reinsurance business. Then he goes on to say, we shall learn in a few short months whether Parliament succeeded or whether Bermuda is blacklisted by the EU despite our legislative efforts. Again, same thing can be said for Cayman, Mr. But what the important part of it that I really want to pull out of this without reading the whole thing has to do with the divide and conquer part of things, and that part of it.
What they did was make each of us do our own legislation.
Exactly. Yes.
And now what they're saying in Bermuda is what we need to do is sort of synchronize those with the other overseas territories, so they don't have without the financial centers, so they don't have a disadvantage.
Exactly. So he goes on to say, says one of the speakers at a forum that he talks about. Predicted that we will soon see tidying up of Bermuda's substance legislation to prevent jurisdictional arbitrage, by which he means that there is now a risk that the differences between the legislation passed in the various offshore jurisdictions may be leveraged against each other to encourage businesses to move. To prevent this, a harmonization of offshore substance laws needs to occur. And goes on to say, because of the way the EU played its hand in the negotiations, each offshore jurisdiction was compelled to prepare its own domestic legislation in isolation. This proved a masterful divide and conquer strategy by the EU. Offshore jurisdictions were left largely uninformed of what concessions other jurisdictions might make. They were bidding against themselves. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the EU adopted an unbending approach to its demands. So let's look at that. You remember there was this, you would know it, there was this back and forth with the European Union in terms of whether or not the legislation was sufficient, right? That was deliberately done. They knew what they were doing when they were asking each one to have separate legislations. Now, yes, each jurisdiction is different, and there are certain, not even subtle, but clear, obvious differences that legislation must address. But at the same time, they knew what they wanted Cayman to do and why. They knew what they wanted Bermuda to do and why. And again, that divide and conquer strategy was deliberate and, in essence, successful. That is why they wanted to look at the legislation that was passed that was being proposed and had to put their stamp of approval on
each individual.
Now, somewhere in international law and the laws of comity or whatever, somewhere along the line, there must be something that prevents organizations like the OECD from getting into local, national legislation and dictating to them in this day and age.
It's the might of power. They're the powerful ones. My hope and dream, I stood on the floor of the Legislative Assembly and I took a turn, a good piece out of them and a good piece out of England as well. Mm-hmm. But somewhere I am hoping, OC, that they're going to be so busy now. You think England in trouble about Brexit? The EU is worse because they're worse off. Mm-hmm. Because England is the only full English-speaking country in the EU. Mm-hmm. And they need her. Mm-hmm. You hear them, they're not going to negotiate any longer. You saw where they put out that we, those who, English, if they don't have a soft visa system, they're going to apply visa systems to all those with British passports.
Yeah, and anything over 90 days or something like that.
Right, and if they don't do it, they'll respond. I think, but that is no assurances for the future. I am concerned that they can just arbitrarily do these things, and then.
But they do it because we allow them to do it because we're in our own sense. We're not as unified now. CARICOM has come out and said,
right. That's what I was about.
CARICOM has come out and said that we need to address this collectively, but we haven't.
I said that the other day. The problem with CARICOM is that we're so isolated, so separated, with so many silos all over the place. I'm just like the Federation in the 60s, in the late 50s or the 60s. Mm-hmm. And we know what happened to that. But the other thing with CARICOM is that they have not been as long into this financial centers as we have. And us, Bermuda, Bahamas, and BVI is somewhat isolated from that. And they don't see the value of it, per se. They didn't see the value of it. And I was hoping that CARICOM, then we would show a greater force in the Caribbean. And then United Nations would get in and the likes, wherein they would say you cannot do that. But then there's strength in numbers. And I believe that we could gain some leverage from that. I really thought that's what we were. Because
with all this legislation coming down, no country. I mean, we have said now with the Brits and the legislation that they put onto the finance bill that they had, that we're not prepared. The register of beneficial ownerships. We have said to the UK, we're not prepared to do anything more with that until the rest of the international community,
right?
Will
and they say 2023 or something.
But we haven't stood firm against the EU, in relation
and maybe we
to
haven't.
Yeah.
And see, this is them bringing pressure on us. You heard that guy, the one that should be the next exchequer. I saw him on a clip in England saying that Corbyn know exactly where the money is. There's $40 billion in places like the Cayman pounds in places like the Cayman Islands, which they expect to bring back home. That's false.
Yeah.
Many of them don't even know how the system works. We don't have enough $40 billion here. Maybe we can get $40 billion from. But it is their own failures. They put this socialized system in place, which requires them to constantly feed that, and they need to get that money from some place.
And they have an aging population.
Exactly. But the problem is, too, that, they feel they can come here and get it. You can't get it like that. What they need to do is address their own systems and try to correct that.
Okay, we have to take a commercial break now. We have one caller on hold, so caller, just hang in there. Take a quick commercial break. When we return, we will take your call.
At KFC, we believe you don't have to share a last name to be a family. Whether it's an office party, holiday fete, or family gathering, enjoy KFC's fresh, hand-breaded, finger-licking good chicken. The KFC Festive Feast includes 10 pieces of original recipe or spicy chicken, creamy mashed potatoes, tasty coleslaw, and warm biscuits. KFC's holiday catering menu includes buckets of hot wings, sweet chili wings, or chicken tenders. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Did you know that recycling collection containers are located island-wide on Grand Cayman? The Department of Environmental Health program is an integral part of DEH's waste management responsibility in the Cayman Islands. Start your recycling program at home today. Put your type 1 and 2 plastics in appropriate DEH recycling containers at all Foster supermarkets, Kirk Market, or Hurley's Grand Harbor. Please keep the Cayman Islands clean. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. For more information about recycling, go to www.deh.gov.ky.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Hello, I'm Joseph Woods, the Acting Port Director. Our port facility is the hub of the Cayman Islands commerce and economic activity, handling $658 million in imported goods annually. From groceries to construction materials, all sectors of our economy depend on the port. But it is now 40 years old. Its infrastructure is degrading, and we feel the strain from insufficient space for both cargo and cruise operations. The time is now. A new expanded port facility is needed to allow both cargo and cruise to operate efficiently and to support our island's continued growth and development. Support the port, support our tourism, support Cayman's continued growth and development.
Initiating system.
For information that matters, For the Record with Orrett Connor continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have 3 callers and we have 10 minutes. So I'm going to ask each caller to please be brief because we have 3 callers. Those are the last 3 calls for the morning, and we have 10 minutes to cover that, plus closing remarks from Mr. McLean as well. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you, Mr. O.C.
Good morning, sir.
To MLA, V.Arden McLean. Always good to hear you on there, sir. Standing up for your people. I just asked a simple question, yes or no. Is Switzerland a part of the European Union?
Yeah, I believe
yes,
Switzerland is one of the 27, one of the 28. Well, 27 and a half, no. With England halfway out.
Yes. Well, that was inevitable with England. All I thought so. I remember our Minister for Financial Services saying something stuck with me, so I always try to listen to this debate. He said that as long as we're in this business, we're always going to be under pressure. And it goes through what he said, that simple statement. You can see it always will be so. It always will be so. We have no manufacturing here of any portion or any no industry here. So people on the outside will always be wondering, where does all this money come from? Always. To put it simply, it always will be that way. Always, in my estimation. At one of these days when you have the time, Mr. O.C.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you would explain to people what is the difference between the British governors, the British government's appointed governor's job here, and the deputy governor's job. I think it's important that try to explain that and exactly what entities in government does the deputy governor have the authority over to make decisions on those different entities, the police force, the immigration, the prisons, the customs, and which of them he doesn't really have that full authority. It might be deferred to the governor to have that one, and why that is so or whatever. I'm just asking one day you explain this. And also it would be good if the financial world was to come out and explain a little more in detail exactly how they operate, because it's seen as a cloudy thing. The majority of your people, of our people here, I'm speaking about Caymanians because others come here. Let us concentrate on that. Those who can put you into your seats, the elected representatives. Do you think they really care about what will happen, with the financial world if we obey this law of presence or don't obey? Do you think they really have a grasp on it to really care when they're out there trying to keep their little jobs, $6 an hour, $10 an hour, to survive here?
That's a good question to ponder, caller. We're going to ask you to leave us there, but I just want to point out to you the question that you asked. It says, is Switzerland a member of the European Union? The European Economic Area, EEA, includes EU countries and also Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. Switzerland is neither an EU nor an EEA member, but is part of the single market. Yeah. This means Swiss nationals have the same rights to live and work in the United Kingdom as other EEA nationals, but is not a part of the European Union. So just wanted to correct that. Let's go to the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Just fine. MLA McLean, I always love to hear you on there, and Mr. Moderator, you're always full of a lot of background information in your research. I love that.
Thank you.
Mr. McLean, where the temporary has become permanent, which was kind of expected in regards to the governor because he was handpicked by the premier. Now, the UK is always talking about transparency. So is the EU. We had a governor, Governor Chowdhury, that was making a difference and getting people to do what they should do and was following laws and getting them enforced. And I believe you had some interaction with him as well. They removed him under a cloud of suspicion and accusations that came out from Mr. Matthew Forbes, the MI6 man in his office called it, chief staff or something.
Chief of staff, yeah.
Staff, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Some little fancy name they give it. But he's an MI spy. And the governor's governor, really. And it seems, and that came out in street talk. I believe, sir, that as the members of the opposition, I would suggest that you all, and people will say for the good of it, demand that the United Kingdom give the Cayman Islands an explanation as to what happened and why he was removed. And a lot of that can be based on Section 19 of the Constitution Order, which is the management agreement they have with us. They should be held to account for the extra monies that were paid by the Caymanian taxpayers as a direct result of the removing of Governor Chowdhury for all those months, when you had all kind of acting going on, this one get an acting and move up, and then a replacement for that and so forth, because they get the higher payrolls. And to track all the expenses that were incurred as a result of their decision to remove him when he was so beloved by the people of the Cayman Islands, and which he embraced. And I know nothing about this current gentleman, but he comes in at a time when a full explanation should be given as to what happened with Governor Chowdhury before, in my personal mind, that I can give any credibility or look at him with a good eye, knowing the way that he has come here and the path that has taken for him to come here. And I think, sir, you should demand that of the United Kingdom, at least, as you say, and people tell you you bring a no confidence motion, where you're going to get, at least it should be out there as a bone of contention, and they should be reminded of it, of every opportunity. Give us the reasons. Common justice, rule of law, natural justice. You were reading in planning the different methods of appeal and all the rest of it. And under all of those, and common decency, one human to another, we are due that. God bless you, sir, and I encourage you to continue. Don't lose faith, and keep heading into the wind and damn the torpedoes.
Thank you very much, caller. We're going to take our last caller for the morning. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Caller, and good morning, Mr. McLean.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very good, sir. Thank you. Sir, I note that you have very limited time, so I'm just going to go straight to the point. I observed or listened to the last caller make the point about Section 19 or Clause 19 of the Constitution, which of course refers to lawful administrative actions, and this specifically that all decisions and acts of public officials must be lawful, rational, proportionate, and procedurally fair. So I think this segues nicely into my point, which are really more specifically in relation to the way in which jobs are advertised in the Cayman Islands, and more specifically those jobs that pertain to public office. And that is to say that my concern, and this also is in light of the context of the immigration law, that any government job that is now advertised, and most of them specifically state that a person who has not been shortlisted will not hear back from the relevant authority and or department. And I find that to be a bad example, and which has been now picked up by some members of the private sector, in that people have a right to know why it is that they have not been shortlisted for interview or what have you. And I think that it flies in the face of our Constitution and our immigration law to allow such advertising to continue. That's the first point. The second point, sir, is simply to say that in relation to procedure followed by the various government boards, especially those that are considering any form of arbitration, it seems extremely strange to me that the government continues to function in a manner which does not allow the individual concerned, much less the public, to be privy to the functionality of the particular board or arbitrary body that's been appointed by the government. And there are numerous examples of that, sir. I could go into it more, but at this stage, given the time limitations, I just want to throw it out there for your input, because it both matters are serious matters for all of us to be concerned about.
Certainly.
And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to voice that.
Thank you very much, and I want to encourage you to call in more often and talk with us as well.
Two things I learned out of that. Oh, young man, if you're still there.
Yes, sir.
Two things I learned out of that. One, he came in. Two, we underestimate him too much.
Yeah.
You hear what I tell you? You hear what I tell you, see?
I know.
I can hear his voice is young, and I can hear he's Caymanian, and we underestimate them too much. You hear how precise,
yes,
and how
detailed,
clear, and how detailed, and how calm that young man is. Thank you very much, son.
Thank you. Thank you, caller.
Thank you, sir.
You hear what I tell you, see?
Yeah. Any closing comments, Mr. McLean?
In the case of this young man, that is one of the problems we have in this country, and he highlighted it. The Constitution is never, and Steve has done this too, but that section in particular. And until the day it is challenged, we're not going to get any better with it. It needs to be challenged in court. But of course, what we don't have here, or like we have elsewhere in the world, lawyers who will go out there and advocate for other people. You need to be paid in this country here to get it. They don't see themselves as advocates of human rights and the likes. And that's unfortunate that we have to do it in this manner. And to the young man about the adverts for government jobs and it's catching on in private sector. I have many stories, son, that I could relate to you. I could tell you stories that would raise the hair on your head straight on end. Now, recently the government has announced that they work, WORC, I think it is.
Yes, coming into force,
and they are going to be requiring the public, the private sector, to advertise their jobs on their portal. I think that's where it's going to be. Now I hope governments does the same thing, and if you listen still, one of the things I said earlier this morning that corruption is it's not about money per se. Official corruption is also about using your position to give somebody else an advantage and not following the rules. Now, the rules are that you must reply, they must advertise, and when they do, and then they use their power, their position, to allow somebody to get promoted without interviewing, that is official corruption, and people must be dealt with on that. And in many instances, they don't even get back to you, but it is not fallen onto the private sector. I can tell you it is seriously into the private sector too. But what needs to happen is that there's no enforcement in our country. That's 90% of it. And I could give you a simple example, son, and as articulate as you are, you can pick this up. You drive around nowadays and you see people with their license plates hanging off the back window, and their cars are tinted beyond what is required, and nobody says anything. So there's no enforcement. We hear of. I signed the papers where some guy had altered his passport, but we didn't know he was on island, or he's been on island because he has children here. But we didn't know that until it was almost expired. And he has been convicted of multiple offences. And now he gets 4 months in jail for altering that. It is long after the fact. The other day we had amnesty. And then they said, we're going to... You remember, we have amnesty every now and again, every few years, OC. And then they say, as soon as you better come in now, because on such and such a date, we're going to step up our efforts to catch those who didn't come in. So what happened with the rest of the year? What happened with the rest of the years? Where is the resources to ensure the enforcement of these things? People like you need to come out and get into that political arena and create your soapbox. That's what people like you need to do. I'm sorry if I
here behind the mic.
No, I ain't talking about you. See, I'm talking about the little young man.
The young man. Yes.
You're the type that this country needs. My journey to the summit is
almost complete now.
It's people like you who needs to come out and advocate for your people and get yourself involved in advocacy and eventually create that soapbox and get up there and don't be afraid to lose, because that's the best thing could happen to you. Lose the first round and people will then understand who you really are, son.
Yeah, well, Mr. McLean, I want to thank you for being here this morning. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. Monday's a holiday, so we won't be on here for the record. Ask you to be extremely cautious on the roads during the weekend as well. Observe the rules of the road and be mindful of those roads that will be closed on Monday during National Heroes Day as well. I also want to remind you that we are brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to avoid the charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. And Cayman Pharmacy Group, with locations in West Base and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner.
Oh, Cayman Moon. The
voice of the Cayman Islands, Radio Cayman.
We love our listeners. Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.